Um, I'm serving the community at the same time. This is a win-win-win. That's the direction I want to go. And then that's when I found Michael Blanc and this amazing, if you're watching on YouTube, this tattered, well-loved yellow book.
Julie, welcome to the show today.
Michael, this is like the biggest, most amazing moment of my year and of my investing journey. Thank you so much.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. And you've come a really long way. We want to get into your story because you're a full-time investor now, but it didn't start off that way. In fact, you were a school teacher. Isn't that right?
Yeah, school teacher, graduated college early, and at the tender age of 22, started teaching in the public school system.
That's pretty cool. All right. Well, that's excellent. And how did you, or why did you start thinking about real estate? What was going on in your life where you're like, real estate, and why real estate, and what kind of real estate in the beginning?
Well, that's really an interesting question because I'm third generation in residential real estate sales. So every listener, hear that, sales, not investing. And so I was around real estate. I understood real estate. In fact, I understood the economy really well with real estate and the ebbs and flows because I lived it, right, on the sales side of things. And when I was 22, I really didn't care. I just wanted to serve people. I'm like, I'm just going to serve people and I'm going to work for the government and I'll have a pension and I'll be contributing to the world and this is a great thing, win, win, win. And then at 25, I got that. Oh, they're going to be handing out pink slips. I'm like, what the heck? How are they handing out pink slips? We're teachers, like you can't fire us. And I didn't get that pink slip. Thank God. It would have worked out if I didn't. But that was that moment where I had that. I have to have control of my life and my future. But I'm going to go backwards just a little bit and say, like 2 years before that. Now, this is for better or for worse. Arnold Schwarzenegger completely changed my life. He happened to be governor of California at the time, and he was incentivizing test scores. And that is a very controversial thing to do. However, I happened to be this young teacher who got making $27,000 and I got a $10,000 bonus. And my dad being in residential sales, he's like, buy your house, buy a house, buy a house. And he taught me about the equity elevator. He taught me about just invest, like you buy your house. And there is a difference when we buy our single family, like our own residential home for ourselves. That's not an investment. However, he was explaining equity to me. And so, kind of thanks to Arnold Schwarzenegger and my dad, guiding me into and directing me into buy your first house at a young age, I was able to house hack and start, that whole real estate venture of my own.
So Arnold got you into real estate investing. That is amazing. Yeah, that is
Isn't
absolutely amazing. That is exciting. Wow, I didn't know that about Arnold. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. He did some really cool things.
So house hacking. So what did you do then? What was your first foray into real estate?
Right. So speaking of house hacking, right? It was okay. I make a teacher's income, teacher salary, and now I have this mortgage. It's all on me, and I'd really like some breathing space. I have an extra room. Let me rent that room out. And so I just started renting that room out. Now it has a name and it's all, super fancy. It's called house hacking. And there's so many different variations of it, but it's such an effective way to learn, oh, wow, if I can barter and trade with my real estate, I can really, do well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you rented out a room and where did it go from there?
So from there, my husband and I got married and we had a vision. I had some struggles in my early adulthood, and it really just gave me a heart for people who have come from abusive situations. And, you really have to get your feet back on the ground. And so we just had the shared vision of let's build a small residential portfolio. We'll live a modest life. We will simply buy a home that we can afford on one income. We were committed to living on one income, just to make life easy and give us a little flexibility. And so in that process, we were like, we'll improve a home and then we'll buy the next one and lease, rent that one out. And that was our plan. But then guess what happened? We had our second baby. And when you have your second baby, or maybe your first, or whatever it is in your life, you're going to have these moments where you feel more vulnerable. And suddenly I felt very vulnerable. I was managing the properties. They were, 1,000+ miles away. And that was fine. By the way, managing properties while I'm not going to go and fix the plumbing if it's 2 blocks away. So what difference does it make with the distance? So that didn't freak me out. But what did freak me out was I thought, I want to make sure that our family is safe and secure. And golly, we've never had any problems ever. But that what if monster just eroded at me. That's a mindset issue, just asterisk that mindset issue that I've worked through. However, that's where we said, okay, let's look for a better investing option. Let's look where we can start investing that makes more sense. And that is actually, I first heard Monique Halm on Bigger Pockets. And when she was describing, not disgusting, it was amazing. She's describing, the syndication model. That was my aha moment. I thought, education, I can serve investors, I can serve residents, still staying on point, on mission. And I'm serving the community at the same time. This is a win-win-win. That's the direction I want to go. And then that's when I found Michael Blanc and this amazing, if you're watching on YouTube, this tattered, well-loved yellow book.
The yellow book. Now so syndication kind of struck a chord with you, but why? What problem was it solving for you, both with specifically with single family house investing? You had a pretty good strategy, but what specifically did that solve for you, or at least the idea of it?
Well, the vulnerable point that I found with the single family, it was, what I hear a lot of people say. I have one roof, I've got one unit to lease out. And if that person leaves or doesn't pay, I could potentially be up the creek. We always had, cash flow coming in. However, what if? I love the concept also of having a business plan. That business plan really anchors me down because I'm not just haphazardly investing in any capacity. It's here's the building and here's what we are projecting for our occupancy. Here's what we are projecting for our rents. We can see what things are looking like, especially with the SDA. It's a really quick snapshot. That's such a gift to the world. And we can see what's going to happen, what can affect, oh, wait, interest rates are rising. Okay, let's factor that in. Where do we think things are going to be when we sell this? And so now it's no longer this kind of a crystal ball moment, but now we can actually make decisions based off of evidence that is rational and concrete. And I say it's wet concrete. I mean, interest rates have definitely done their things, rising particularly recently and everything, but at least we have an idea. We have a ballpark as to where things are headed and how also, most importantly, how are we going to pivot? Okay, well, there's a pandemic. Can we factor that in? Like all of these different elements where we can feel a little bit of buffer for everybody involved.
Talk about this what if mindset. What is that? What was that for
Mm.
you? And how was it kind of holding you back?
Yeah, I was living in that it's a fear-based, scarcity-based mindset where it's just more reactive to the world and more, oh, I need to be a defensive player here versus I can roll with the things. These things aren't out there to get me, they're out there to serve me. And if I roll with them, they actually snowball into something really great. There might be the challenges and hurdles along the way, but if I stick with it, it's going to work out and it's going to be okay.
So what does that look like for you, the what if thing? So played it out in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you had to deal with, especially early on, what was your mind chattering about?
Okay, let's go back to second baby's born. And I'm just like, looked at my husband, Steven, like, I just, oh, what if something happens? At that point, we were expecting the economy to do a flush out. And so it's like,
What was this?
gosh, and it was very premature, right? So she was born in 2011 and I really got that nervous feeling around like maybe like a couple years later, and it's like, okay, '08 happened, a normal real estate cycle, 6 to 8 years, like where are we at in this? Like we should sell high. We could sell it right now. We could capture that, and be positioned to buy when, 2000, 2010 happens all over again, right? Like all of that. So there's the what if, the FOMO, the what if on what if we miss timing the market the right way. And then there's the other phone, the what if of, oh my gosh, what if we have like the economy goes, tanks again and people don't pay and it's our neck on the line? And what if it's foreclosed? And what if we lose our house? And what if, I took it down to what if we end up on the streets? What if we can't take care of our babies? So I really went down the rabbit hole quite a bit. I wouldn't recommend that for everyone to do, but when you put yourself in check also, and instead of wrapping yourself in that fear, but saying, okay, and I'm grateful God gave me some foresight to be able to say, don't wrap yourself in this fear, but let's get some education. Let's dispel your what ifs and let's look for something that is going to support you in a more powerful way.
Yeah. So how did you overcome that? Obviously, your faith has something to do with that as well.
Yeah, my
Um,
faith is huge, but I allowed myself to pursue the education. And at one point, I finally decided I need, actually, this is fantastic. Okay, so Michael, I missed Dealmaker Live 2019. That is when I had first learned about the syndication, and I was just all in, feasting on your podcast, on just hanging on the every word of every guest that you featured. And some of them have since become my guests, by the way, which I'm grateful for. But I had gone through your book. I had, okay, here's a checklist. I'm doing this, check, 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 check. And I looked at my husband. I said, honey, I need to go to this event. And he said, what do spouses sometimes say? They sometimes say things like, you're still learning about this. I think it's a little early. I think you need to wait.
right, right.
And then what happened at that event? Oh my goodness. One of my good friends ends up forming a partnership at that event. This beautiful partnership was formed, and I'm seeing all of these pictures and I'm like, oh, if I would have been there, this is, and so much magic happened at that event in 2019 that I had that FOMO and I said, you know what? I looked at my husband. I said, this is real. I'm going to be a syndicator. This is the path. And I need to go to an event. I need to create that culture. I need the community. I need people around me so that I can do this in a very effective way. You never want to lose anybody's money. I would never sleep at night. And so Real Estate Guys was having, which you're good friends with lots of them, and they were having an event. And I thought, okay, this is when we're going to. And my husband and I flew down to Dallas to Secrets of Successful Syndication. And that was the first time I met you. As probably a little bit of a fangirl, is I went up to you at the elevators and I looked at my husband like, I have to go say hi. And I went up to you and I'm like, I just want to thank you so much. You changed my life. Like, everything that you've created. It was so like, it's so funny, but I'm so grateful for everything that you've created. And at that event, it was like that college level class where I got so much information and felt overwhelmed. And then I continued to attend events and ultimately joining a mentorship program. And in that mentorship program, I was able to have a commonality amongst everyone. We have a shared mindset on like when you join any type of coaching and mentoring program, one of the luxuries is that everyone is learning the same skills. You're all speaking the same language, the same dialect. If you go from program to program, the dialects are a little bit nuanced. And so it's nice. You can, and there you can create partnerships and, meet people to help support you in your journey. And being part of that sort of community, and most importantly, having a high performance coach involved in that community absolutely skyrocketed and changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah. There's a lot of things you said there. One of the things is I think it's critical, and sometimes we don't actually talk about a lot, is about the support of your spouse. Now, you had an example where your spouse maybe wasn't as supportive as maybe he could have been. But then maybe that changed. So what is how can someone's spouse best support the crazy syndicator entrepreneur?
I think, and he is extremely supportive of my ideas. And really what happened in that moment where he said, not this one, I think I needed that to happen. Because it was really a test for me, to know am I committed or am I interested? And there is a big difference between being committed and being interested in something. And I ask myself that even to this day. I will say, whatever task I'm working on, if there's a deal I'm looking at, am I just committed or am I actually interested? Because if you're interested, just like walk away and get to what you're committed to doing. And really not going to that event and having him, say, no, not this one, that really revealed to me the depth of my commitment. And when that depth of commitment was revealed to him, and it wasn't in a I have to give him silent treatment. It was really evident after that this was not going away and this was going to be the path of my life. And so then he became very supportive and went to events with me. He still comes to different events depending on our kids' schedules and such. But yeah. So if you're looking to support your spouse, and this is a big thing because maybe your spouse got you to listen to this podcast episode and they're just begging you to hear this. But, when you're learning something new, your brain is just creating so many different pathways. It's exhausting. And so just understanding that there's going to be this exhausting phase of that growth journey. And there is an obsession stage, and there are all these different parts of being new to the syndication space because it's such a friendly space and the people are so genuinely kind and abundance mindset oriented. There's not another space like this. I've never been in a community that is like this, and it's not just one community, it's multifamily in general. And so, all of those people that they are meeting, those are people that you will want to meet as well. My husband knows so many of my business partners and so many of the people that we've gone to events with. He can, oh, I'm going to see so and so, and take the time, go to the events with your spouse so that you can meet those people, because they're going to be in your life and it's going to be a tremendous blessing in your life, not just for you, but for your kids as well.
You said earlier that one of the things you try to do in 2010 is you're asking whether you should, sell now and buy later. And, I hear this a lot, and I'd like to get your feedback on it. Is a lot of people saying, no, is now the right time to get started? And I've heard this literally since I was doing 2014. Every month, every year, I've heard the same question. And it's a lot of that fear-based thing. And you could solve this problem by timing the market. But how would you address that? Because you were going through that as well. You're like, oh, I'm not so sure. Should I time the market better? Like, what is your advice about someone who wants to time the market, maybe wait?
You're going to miss out. Don't play the game. Don't even put your quarter in the machine on that one. Okay. Because the best time to buy was yesterday. The best time to buy is today, because we're always going to have the changes. The nuances are going to change. The levers are going to change. If, it's always a discrepancy. Either you have a ton of cash, but you don't have a bunch of properties, or you have a bunch of properties, but, finding the debt is going to be challenging, or there's always some shift that is taking place that is going to make make playing the game a little bit difficult. And that's, you got to, just be willing to go through those hurdles and be creative in your thinking. But if you're not like investors, we invest in every market because we're investing prudently. We're not investing haphazardly. We don't have to, it's a business plan, remember. So we're not just going in there saying like, oh, well, we hope this is going to happen. We're going in knowing what our numbers are, knowing what our projections are. And so there's a level of confidence. So right now, interest rates are rising, but that's not a bad thing. We're going to see prices come down, right? So there's always these sweet spots. And by the way, I think right now, and that doesn't matter when you're listening to this. So, but really I'm talking about right now, but anytime you're listening to this, that right now is going to be the best time to buy. But currently there are a lot of people sitting on the sidelines. A lot of this is just the calm before the storm, the whispers. And this is a great opportunity to go in and negotiate with sellers because sellers have needs and sellers do need to sell. And so you don't know what their circumstances are, but the best time to buy is right now and start that conversation.
That's a good point because there is always ebbs and flows in the market, and we saw it obviously in 2008. If you were investing in that market, we saw it with COVID, and we see it now with rising interest rates. And so, how can you get yourself in a deal right now? And so a lot of people, like you said, are sitting on sidelines. There's nothing wrong. There's a lot of people who have respect who are on the sidelines, and I just think it's short sighted, but also they're going to miss opportunities. And we
Mhm.
saw after COVID, we actually got into 2 deals because we were resourceful and we hustled, after COVID. Now, you brought up the syndicated deal analyzer, the SDA, a little earlier on,
Yeah.
and, how are you adjusting, and this is just for who doesn't know, this is an underwriting tool, that we all use, and how do you adjust your underwriting? Like, what happens? You hinted that, "Hey, rising interest rates is not so bad, that means prices are going down." How are you adjusting what are you doing right now to try to get a deal? Having said that, without forcing the deal, but we always adjust our underwriting. So how are you adapting right now?
I'm really looking at not just where the interest rates are now, because by the time we close, those interest rates can shift dramatically. And there are a lot of people, I think you and I probably know, people that have been caught where they're heading to the closing table and the interest rate has shifted. And so it's not just looking at what's today's interest rate, but really being aware as to what's happening with the basis points. What is the Fed talking about? And I'm adding that cushion in there on the interest rate. And so, if the deal works and I have a 0.5% higher, which is like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of interest rate more, but if it's going to work, then I can go confidently to my investors. And those my investors, they are my number one. They are my number one people I am responsible and accountable to. And I don't want to go back to my investors and say, oh, well, hey, sorry, this, like, I want to know that I'm professional and I'm competent so I can, compensate for that. I'm also looking at rents. And although the projections right now are that rents are going to continue to rise with inflation and they track and trend, like there's a lot of evidence that rents are going to continue to, rise. However, going back to what if they don't? Is my deal still going to work if those rents don't rise? And so not being overly zealous with um, raising those rents and making sure that deal performs. And then, as always, looking at that exit cap rate. Some people are saying, well, cap rates are going to rise. And so, but what if they don't? What if I don't raise that? Really being aware as to how am I using these levers and how am I putting enough pressure on this deal so that I am buffering and protecting the investors that are involved, the limited partners.
Yeah, and I think what you're talking about are multiple levers you're always pulling inside the syndicated deal analyzer and analysis, and
Hmm.
really making each assumption more on the conservative side, and therefore you have multiple lines of defense, multiple margins for error in your underwriting. I think
Hmm.
that's kind of what we all do. And look, if the deal doesn't work, the deal doesn't work. And what
Hmm.
we found after COVID, there was this, just like now, there was this gap between sellers and buyers. Buyers can't pay more because interest rates are higher, loan to values have gone down, and so you can't pay as much. Sellers still want the same thing they had wanted three months ago. So there's this gap. And we have found that if you kind of stick to your numbers and educate the sellers around what's shifted in the market, if they need to sell, which some do, like you said, they may adjust their numbers. And now you're getting into we were buying stuff after COVID. We used to get bridge loans where we funded, our construction. Well, that immediately
Hmm.
went away after COVID. All bridge
Hmm.
loans went gone, and so now we could no longer fund construction. So we had to raise all 5 point whatever million dollars on construction, and that just crushed the purchase price. And we see similar things happening right now. So, I mean, what you're saying is, look out there, see what's happening in the market, and then adjust your underwriting accordingly. But
And definitely err on the, I mean, I am one where I will err on the side of caution. I have a sleep at night policy, and my job is to protect the limited partners and to ensure a quality investment vehicle for them. And so the more pressure we can put on, the more confidence that we can have in what we're bringing to investors, and the more we have confidence that we can perform on that.
So speaking of investors, I mean, you're speaking very authoritatively. You have your own podcast, right? And you really know what you're talking about. But back in the day when you were just a school teacher, how did you get the confidence to talk to investors? I mean, where was your confidence back then? I mean, why did you even believe, remotely believe that someone with money would ever take you seriously? You being a school teacher and all.
Wow, it was a significant growth journey. And it's interesting because I can speak with confidence now, and I could speak with confidence on things that I had experienced. And so really, Michael, that's where I began was if I'm going to speak with any level of confidence and I want to serve passive investors, then I need to be one. I need to become what they are, and I need to feel what they're feeling, and I need to understand the process all on my own. By the way, that's why I invested in my first LP deal with Nighthawk Equity. There's a nice plug right there. It's been a fantastic experience. But that was my first move was if I want to gain confidence, I need to understand the process, not just on the active side, but I need to understand the passive side. But ultimately, the confidence comes by doing. You're not going to feel confident as a swimmer if you never go in the pool and take some lessons and start swimming, right? We get confidence when we start doing. And
But that
so,
that's a chicken and egg problem, right? You know this, right? So I
yeah,
need to get I need to get confident in talking with investors by speaking to investors, but I'm not confident, so I'm not going to speak to investors, right? So how do you overcome that? How do you
yeah.
start speaking to investors maybe when your confidence isn't there? Or is there something you can do to raise your confidence so that you can speak to investors?
Well, yes, absolutely. So for me, investing passively helped significantly. Also, being part of community where you're hearing the conversation, ingesting as much information as you can. I still ingest and like love listening to podcasts because I'm gaining all sorts of information, and that gives me more confidence in speaking to people because, like, well, I do know these things. How do I articulate that? For me, that was one of my challenges in speaking with, potential investors was how do I articulate this well? And so, when you hear other people, you have role models and inviting role models into your life. And then at some point, you have to take the training wheels off, and it's scary, and it was so scary. It was so uncomfortable. And I love people and I love talking. However, it was still scary and uncomfortable. And then I realized one of the most important things. I'm not selling and I'm not begging. I have something of so much value. I know what we put our deals through. I know what I have is going to support them, and I believe in it wholeheartedly. And if you believe in it wholeheartedly with that confidence, then you can say, I'm not here begging you for your money. I'm not here trying to say, like, oh, schmoozy salesperson. I'm here giving you the offer of a lifetime.
And that's really the way that everyone listening, watching this should think about raising money. It's not about raising money. It's around, well, first of all, building relationship, but serving others.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
in stock market investors, I mean, they have at least three problems, possibly four. There's volatility in the markets, especially now. It's more of like a negative trend. Number two, they don't get cash flow from the stock market. They pay too many taxes, and it's a poor hedge against inflation. And when you realize that, especially as an LP, you're like, oh my gosh, this is pretty cool. You want to share your enthusiasm with other people, and you're not selling them, you're not manipulating them. I think a lot of people get
Hmm.
that wrong with raising capital.
I think and you said something that's like absolutely critical. It's relationships. It's all about relationships. And if you are truly genuinely seeking to serve others, now you've opened up an opportunity, and that will come out, and you're not going to come off like some, salesy person. You're going to come out as someone who's genuinely looking to serve someone else and getting to know. And my investors know we have a longer intake because, like, we want to know. I'm going to be representing your voice. You have no voting rights. I'm going to be representing you. So I want to know you. I want to know all of your challenges. I want to know the problems you want to solve for your portfolio so that I can, advocate for you as we are going through our business plan. And that relationship, well, you know how to say hi to somebody, and that's all it takes.
That's cool. So what's next for you?
Wow. Continuing to syndicate. I don't want to ever stop syndicating. I believe in and I know that some people are like, I want to retire, and I want to just continue to serve people and build people up so that they can invest with confidence. And honestly, you know, we need to have a strong portfolio, and I can't think of a better way to build the foundation of an investment portfolio than through real estate. It is powerful. It's tried and true since the beginning of time. And so that's something I just want to continue to support people in, so that they can live that life that they want. Because when people feel that peace, that they can breathe, they're not stressing out about their finances, I really believe they can receive more of the beautiful things that God's blessed us with in this world, and they can also give more. And that's what we want to do. We want to contribute back to the world in a powerful way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, so parting advice to someone who would maybe in your shoes and listening to this and got real estate on a brain, what do you advise that they do next?
Take that next step. You know what it is in your gut. It's that little thing that you're like, it makes you nervous, it gives you butterflies, and you might feel, oh, but my next step, Julie, my next step has a price tag to it.
Yeah.
I will promise you this. Every single I actually was looking at all of the seminars that I've been to and thinking about how the value behind those seminars and the financial investment that I made into those seminars and the conferences. But every single one of those, the ROI is indescribable. And so, figure something out. If whatever your next step if it has a dollar amount to it, that's just a value. Okay. And there's a way to work around that money element. And so that's just shifting your mindset to say, oh, I can't do that. No, it's now, how am I going to budget for this? How am I going to bring this about? Because if you're confident and this is a path that you're going to go down, you need to make that investment into yourself. That might mean that for you, that is investing in the yellow book. That might mean that you're investing in going to the next Dealmaker Live event, which is absolutely fantastic. And since the pandemic, Michael, I have not missed it. It is a great event that you put on, and I've met so many amazing people and made amazing friends there. So that's my advice: is don't wait, get going.
So good. How can people connect with you, Julie?
I would absolutely love to connect with you. Head over to Julie at julieholly.com and schedule a time. Let's talk. I'm here, I'm real. You can even give me a call. I answer my phone. You might need to send me a text message, but you can reach out to me at 208-603-0996. But give me a reference point. Let me know where you heard this.
That's awesome. Julie, so really great jamming with you here on the show today.
Great seeing you, Michael. Thank you so much.